Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is NB12 for Thursday, August 9th, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable 12 studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, the president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers gives her review of the most recent dismal national exam results and the school system. Questions arise about who government is awarding school repair contracts to, a 29-year-old man killed Wednesday night, and preparations for the second annual Bahamas Speed Week revival. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your NB12 starts right now. Thanks for joining us. While the blame may be passed around for the reason the majority of Bahamian students are performing below average in core subjects, the president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers says the blame should be placed on the system. Paige McCartney has her remarks and a further breakdown of how schools are performing.
The argument has always been that the results of the national examinations aren't fair to all Bahamian students because they encompass the grades of all students, even the bad ones, at all schools, and don't give a fair assessment. But according to the information just received by NB12, private schools and independent schools are still outperforming government schools by leaps and bounds. When comparing the top-scoring private schools on New Providence versus the top-scoring government schools on New Providence, there is a vast difference. The top-scoring private schools for the BGCSEs are Queen's College, St. Andrew's High School, and St. Augustine's College, which all scored on average B-minuses, and the majority of their students all scored A's, B's, and C's. The top-performing government schools were C.I. Gibson, C.R. Walker, and C.V. Bethel, which all scored on average D's, and the majority of students receiving C's and D's. The lowest performing private schools that submitted more than 100 students to sit the BGCSEs were Faith Temple, that scored a D+, Westminster College, that scored a D+, and Zion Christian School, that scored an E+. The two lowest performing government schools were Doris Johnson High, which scored on average an E+, and R.M. Bailey, which scored an E. As it regards those students in the government school system, President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, said the problem is not the students or the teachers.
The system is failing the students.
The students aren't failing.
The students are failing because of the system. And if the system would get its act together just on one matter, I believe you would see so much more better results.
Wilson also took exception to a comment by former Education Minister Desmond Bannister that he has witnessed on a few occasions incompetent teachers in the classroom. She said the union is aware that there are teachers who are struggling and may very well be incompetent, but the minister always has the authority to do something to change it rather than criticize it. She added that the issue in education isn't so much that students continue to perform poorly on average, but rather is about the fact that officials are not doing anything with the results year after year.
The ministry and or the Department of Education, in our view, does not analyze the information adequately. And if they do analyze it adequately, then we don't think that they're using the results to bring change and to modify the way that the teachers are teaching and the way that the children are learning.
Wilson is suggesting that each year all education stakeholders meet to reevaluate curriculums and teaching styles in the public school system. Regarding the qualifications of teachers in critical subjects like math, English, and the sciences, she said the union has made suggestions on how to create more qualified Bahamian teachers, like a teachers' college to train and retrain in particular disciplines and a feeder program to recruit high school students into the field. But she claims those ideas have not been considered by successive governments.
Problem in the Bahamas is that there is no plan, no short, medium, or long-term plan, which says this is what we want to produce in the Bahamas. in order for us to be able to provide the educators that we will need for now, for the medium term, and for the long term in the country. And too long we've been saying, oh, we have a shortage of math and science persons. What are we doing to prepare our people?
But Wilson said Bahamian students are a reflection of their parents and their communities. She said with the number of social issues affecting families today, like the recession, abuse, and the surge in murders and other violent crime in the past few years, it's no wonder why children can't perform in the classroom.
77 from January to present. Okay. So let's say out of those 77 persons that were killed, each of them has one child. No, I just want to speak to the child right now. One child. Okay, that's 77 children that no one even paused to find out. Was that your father or mother who's killed? Then you talk about the brothers and sisters, the siblings. Multiply that.
Reporting for MB12, I'm Paige McCartney.
Well, Leader of Opposition Business in the Senate, Desmond Bannister, questioning whether Minister of Education Jerome Fitzgerald gave nearly $140,000 in summer school repair contracts to an alleged drug dealer. Today, Bannister asked whether contracts were issued to JFK Construction and or Carlos Lamb, its owner, to repair C.I. Gibson Senior High School, Claridge Primary School, and Mabel Walker Primary School this summer. He also asked whether those contracts totaled more than $138,000 and were awarded without tender board or cabinet approval.
Will the Honorable Leader of Government Business confirm to this Honorable Senate that the said Carlos Lamb had been charged with offenses contrary to the Dangerous Drugs Act prior to the time that the said contracts were issued to JFK Construction Carlos Lamb, and that the said charges were still before the court at the time the said contracts were issued? 14. Will the Honorable Leader of Government Business please confirm that at the same time that contracts exceeding $138,000 were being issued to JFK Construction, Carlos Lamb, other school repair contracts were being issued to Bahamians for as little as $1,869.66. 15. Will the Honorable Leader of Government Business please inform this Honorable Senate whether any school repair contracts were issued to repair Ministry of Education, Science and Technology schools during the summer of 2012 to any public officers?
Last week in the House of Assembly, Fitzgerald confirmed contracts were awarded to 74 contractors, and JFK Construction was among them. Our news team tried contacting Fitzgerald this morning, but his secretary said he's currently out of the country. You can read more about this story in tomorrow's Nassau Guardian. Police are looking for the gunman who shot a man to death yesterday. The victim's bullet-riddled body was found in the area of East Street and Coconut Grove, known as the Big Yard, shortly after 7:45 p.m. Superintendent Clayton Fernander, acting commanding officer at the Central Detective Unit, said they were called to the area by residents who reported hearing gunshots.
Initial information is that the young man, the deceased, was in this yard when he was approached by an individual. There was an altercation, a gun was produced, and he was shot. At this present time, we can't say the motive. We are still early in our investigation, and at this time, based on our information, we are confident that we should be able to bring this matter to a closure.
The victim has since been identified as 29-year-old Raymond Thompson, a mechanic, and we've learned he may have been shot at least 6 times. In light of this incident, commanding officer for the South Central Grove Division, Superintendent Philip Don Wilson, defended the urban renewal program, which is underway in that area. He says police are active in that community, and he hopes cooperation from residents will help them close this case.
The patrols, as it relates to the South Central Grove area, is active in this area. We are moving about throughout this area and doing what we ought to be doing, enforcing the laws, maintaining peace throughout the area of the Grove area. And once again, we appeal to members of the public, the good citizens out there. There are many good citizens within the Grove area. We are appealing to you to call us at Crime Tippers number 919 or at the South Central Grove Division with any information, the least little bit of information you have as to who is responsible for what occurred here this evening.
Thompson's murder marks the 77th for the year.